Developments today on the Israel-Lebanon border. The de facto leader of Hezbollah sang in comments broadcast on Tuesday that the group supports efforts to reach a ceasefire for Lebanon. But for the first time, they're omitting any mention of a Gaza truce deal as a precondition to
this pressure. And after all the assassinations and the blows that Hezbollah has took over the past month, be it the pagers attacks, the walkie-talkies attacks, the assassination of the Radwan Command Force, the assassination of Secretary General Nasrallah, that its de facto leader today, Naim Qassem, is ready to negotiate a possible ceasefire. So this is a turn in events. This is the first time the party and the militia admits that it is ready to negotiate a ceasefire in Lebanon, disregarding what's going on in Gaza. So decoupling the two fronts has officially taken place. However, in his speech, he mentioned that the party and the group is ready to negotiate all other stuff after the ceasefire is achieved. This is a message primarily to the Lebanese people and
halting the group's fire on Israel. We reacting and saying that the militant group is on its back foot and getting battered. That's according to Matt Miller. Ratifications of some of the language we're hearing out of Hezbollah as of late.
Austin, the implications are enormous. Basically, this is a schism, a split, if you will, within the Iranian proxy movement, the axis of resistance, they call themselves. You have to remember, Hezbollah is the cornerstone of the Iranian proxies. That is their main proxy. It was started up in the early 80s. They've given 150,000 missiles. They've been in multiple wars with Israel. And they have split. They have said, we will basically negotiate our own ceasefire, that the Gaza ceasefire arrangement is completely separate from what they're doing. Kind of implied that whatever happens with Iran might be a little separate from what they're doing as well, but it wasn't formally stated. The other thing, too, is, Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel today, basically came out and made an address where he kind of made it clear to the people of Lebanon that if basically you don't want to see Lebanon look like Gaza, in so many words. And
I have a message. I have a message for President Macron. Today, Israel is defending itself on 7 fronts against the enemies of civilization. We're fighting in Gaza against Hamas, those savages who murdered, raped, beheaded, and burned our people on October 7th. We're fighting in Lebanon against Hezbollah, the most heavily armed terror organization in the world, which was planning an even greater massacre than October 7th on our northern border, and that has rocketed Israeli towns and cities for nearly a year. We're fighting against the Houthis in Yemen and the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that together have launched hundreds of drones and missile attacks against Israel. We're fighting against terrorists in Judea and Samaria who are trying to murder civilians in the heart of our cities. And we're fighting against Iran, which last week fired over 200 ballistic missiles directly at Israel, and which stands behind the 7-front war against Israel. As Israel fights the forces of barbarism led by Iran, all civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them. Is Iran imposing an arms embargo on Hezbollah, on the Houthis, on Hamas, and on its other proxies? Of course not. The axis of terror stands together. But countries who supposedly oppose this terror axis call for an arms embargo on Israel. What a disgrace. Well, let me tell you this. Israel will win with or without their support. But their shame will continue long after the war is won. For in defending ourselves against this barbarism, Israel is defending civilizations against those who seek to impose a dark age of fanaticism on all of us. Rest assured, Israel will fight until the battle is won.
And for everyone in Lebanon, they're very fearful that that's exactly what could happen. You know, the destruction, the loss of life, the suffering. They're already under tremendous strain. Their social services, which were already overwhelmed on any given day, are completely overwhelmed now. So he made that pretty clear. And as near as I can make out, it was internal Lebanese dynamics. It was the head of the parliament, if you will, that basically was putting pressure on Naim Qassem, which is the acting Secretary General, who basically the acting Secretary General, because Nasrallah is dead. And of course, now it's looking like Nasrallah's replacement is probably dead as well. So they put pressure on him and said, look, you need to do something. And now we're hearing this overture, which is truly amazing. I mean, if you look at where we were a year ago, October 8th, a year ago, was when, basically Hezbollah joined the fight. They started firing missiles in support of Hamas, saying, basically, I hate to say the term sue for peace, but that's probably not that far off. They're trying to do anything to stop the Israeli offensive. And of course, it does say a lot about how much damage the Israelis have inflicted on Hezbollah as an organization.